You're listening to the official Minnesota Wild podcast, presented by Acrisure.
Oh, I don't even get the Common Man open. Man, that's a bummer. Welcome to the day before, the final day of 2025. Kevin Falness, along with Brett Blakemore, in for the Common Man Dan Cole and Brandon Molesky, old Tennessee, off doing dad things, I'm sure, somewhere across the great state of hockey. And what a time to be a hockey fan, Brett Blakemore. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. What a rousing victory in Vegas for your Minnesota Wild. Unbelievable. That was the most convincing win since the Hughes trade. I mean, that was dominating.
You might be right. There's been some good ones this season. The game against Colorado on Black Friday, that was awesome. That was the first fist pump by Jesper Wallstedt as he shuts out both Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar.
Made Avalanche radio damn near explode.
Made them angry. They didn't like it, but we sure did. Going to Winnipeg and beating them, even though that's not as great of a victory as it looks now, but still, you had lost to them for 9 straight, going back 4 years. So you go into Winnipeg, you beat them, you beat Dallas, you thump them, put 5 on Jake Ottinger and the Stars. But you're right, the start to this road trip, the win in Winnipeg this time around to start the road trip wasn't the prettiest, but man, what a finish. And then they go to Vegas last night and beat up on a hurting Vegas Golden Knights team. And now they've won 2 in a row to start the road trip, and they get a chance to finish off 2025, at least that portion of the schedule, tomorrow at the Shark Tank in San Jose. So, yeah, I say it's pretty good time to be a Wild fan these days.
It's really good. And the lines, I think, are not to burn every single one of my breakaways, but I just love the way that the depth scoring, I mean, hat tip to Johansson, who has been savaged in this town many a time. I think he's mashed his point total from last season already. It's crazy.
You know what? The last 2 years he scored 11. Last night he scored his 12th, and he had a 4-point outing. You might be one of those that have to eat some crow.
That's fine.
They're going to re-sign Marcus Johansson, even on a 1-year deal. What is Bill Guerin thinking? Is he on dope? Well, apparently he knew what he was doing.
Now, I've always said if the play changes, I'll change the material accordingly, and he's playing well. Now, I'll say this, and this goes for everybody. If it dries up come playoff time, we'll hear about that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, as we say, the players have the last word. And so right now, the last word is we're dominant.
This is what I'm thinking. It's too bad because this has been a nice little run. If Brandon was here, he probably would have made one of those cool montages. Like I'm a diehard listener to the Common Man show. I know a lot of his bits, a lot of his terminology. Some of it goes over my head, but a lot of it hits me right between the eyes. And how good would it have been to have a montage to open up the show today, to salute the Minnesota Wild, 3rd place in the Western Conference. Who would have thought that was possible after dropping 9 of 12 in the month of October? But they've resurrected their season. They've pulled off a couple of, the trade for Quinn Hughes obviously was great. Signing Kirill Kaprizov to a long-term deal into the season, and now riding the wave since November 1st. They've been unbelievable. 21-4-3 since they got out of that dismal October. Since November 1st, it's been amazing. So what we should have done is put together a montage. So let me do this. Hang on. I've actually found a cool website, and you can go there, and I think radio producers use this, and I guarantee you Brandon Molesky is using it. Hang on. Let me just check. Yeah. This is the one that I think I'm looking for. It's to put montages together on the fly, and let's see, it's asking for a couple of different categories. We want it in the style of Common Man on KFAN. I always misspell KFAN, my fat fingers. Okay, so KFAN, we want it in the form of a montage. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky because on the fly, they've got to put in wild radio highlights featuring Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reed. Plenty to choose from. We're already 40 games into the season. There we go. We want it emotional. That's one thing that I think Common and Tennessee do great. They make it emotional. So we'll add that category in. And let's see what we got. Fire that up. If you can, turn on this computer. I have no idea if this will suck.
I gotta turn on that one.
All right, yep. It might be good. It's buffering. All right. I think it's ready. You fire it off in there, and let's see what we got. This is a montage to the first half of the Minnesota Wild season. I have no idea what this is going to sound like, so cross your fingers. It could be awful. It could be wonderful. Nice touch. That is Common Man style. Is this Kenny Rogers? No way.
Extremely happy to be back on the ice. The summer was too long. After a disappointing playoff round against Vegas, but we're back. It's a new year. Everything's fresh.
Final seconds ticking down. And the Minnesota Wild win the season opener here tonight in St. Louis. 5-0 the final as Philip Gustafsson gets his 12th career regular season shutout.
Yeah, we're extremely excited about this.
I just want to say thank you for organization and Billy, and I'm so happy to stay 9 more years here.
Into his back.
Great program.
Oh, what a move! A real Kaprizov! Boldy waiting. Scores! Some quick moves and a snapshot stick side by Boldy. Volstead stops him. The Wild win and end the Avalanche winning streak. Here is McCarr to a chorus of boos. Volstead out the challenge. McCarr took a shot. Volstead the save! Hughes through the slot with a shot. He scores!
Minnesota Wild, sweater number 43, Quinn Hughes.
That's a great touch right there.
Bringing a player like Quinn Hughes here, you just don't get these opportunities all that often.
I just got here, but a big reason why, obviously, is because I thought, they're, tremendous group just playing them over the years. Hard to play against, really hard to play against.
Listen to later. I haven't flared up. I got goosebumps. Very emotional.
Go Kaprizov in on side, worked into the U center. Boldy scores! Now Boldy wins it in overtime! Ripping one over the crossbar on a beautifully set up passing play, and the Wild stop the Jets, and they win it 4-3 in overtime. The left wing corner they go. Tarasenko wrestled down by Kolasar. The final seconds tick down. The Minnesota Wild 2-0 to start the road trip. They thumped the Golden Knights in Vegas.
Wow, from last night.
First 5, and they win it 5-2.
I don't know if I can carry on. I can't believe they did that on the fly. This is an amazing world we live in. What a time to be alive. If you put I hope John Hines somewhere, somehow, hears about that and can play it for that Wild crew tomorrow at the Shark Tank before they go into that matinee against the San Jose Sharks. What'd you think? I've got tears in my eyes.
Are you sure he didn't just hire Tenebee to do that?
No, do you think he would do anything for me?
No.
I'd bend over backwards for everyone in this building, but he would not. Are you kidding me? He's, like I said, being a dad, doing dad things, probably at a golf simulator, if I had to guess, or probably in a hockey rink with one of his 84 kids, but that was unbelievable. Saul and Blaine, you guys rock. Have a happy New Year's. Always love Kenny Rogers. Goat Guy says, welcome Tenna AIB. And this one from the 763 area code. I just pulled over my car, hugged a stranger, and then I took it easy on a Packers fan. Let's go, all caps, exclamation point.
Not sure what to make of that one.
Well, I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know what? You Packer fans, we need to be nice. This is going to be a tough week for you. You're going into the playoffs with a limp, because the Vikings are not taking it easy on you this coming week. Let me tell you, U.S. Bank Stadium is going to be a house of horrors for you, Dave Sinekin, and all you cheeseheads out there across the great state of hockey. You've come to the wrong place if you're looking to get fat and happy at our expense. The Vikings are going into the offseason with a big old W. But you could be going into the night with a pair of tickets to an upcoming Minnesota Wild home game. This is what I'm asking, Brett Blakemore. I know the answer for you. You're firmly on the bandwagon, correct?
On the Wild bandwagon?
Yes.
Oh, couldn't be more.
How were you feeling 400 some days ago when the Wild were bounced in the first round of the playoffs by the Vegas Golden Knights? Were you on the bandwagon then?
I would say that I was feeling a bowel-loosening level of existential dread. I think that's what I was feeling.
I think everyone was kind of in the same boat. You didn't know what was going to happen in the offseason. You had the question mark hanging over your head with Kirill Kaprizov. How would they respond after getting bounced in the first round? And now you look at what's happened to this team over the first 40 games of this season, including last night, where they go to Vegas and get a measure of revenge on the Golden Knights. Let's not get carried away. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights ended their season last year. The Wild beat them twice in a regular season game, including last night at T-Mobile Arena. But that said, are you on the bandwagon? This is what I want. I want your texts and I want your talkbacks all throughout the course of the program. If you are on the bandwagon, what drove you to that point? What was your breaking point that said, okay, I believe again? Was it one of the 2 7-game win streaks that they've put together in the first 40 games? Was it the re-signing of Kirill Kaprizov to a long-term deal, having him say, yep, I want to be here for the long haul? Was it going out there and signing or trading for, I should say, Quinn Hughes, a generational talent out there on the blue line, a difference maker in so many different ways? Or is it the emergence of one of these young kids, a Danila Yurov, last night playing on the top line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello? Is it the emergence of the Great Wall of St. Paul, Jesper Wallstedt? What makes you a believer once again, now almost to the midway point of this Minnesota Wild season? Put it in form either on that free iHeartRadio app, use the talkback, or text us. And I've got tickets to give away to an upcoming Minnesota Wild home game. A great time to get inside the building. The problem is you got to wait another couple of weeks, week and a half, whatever it is that's left on this road trip. The World Juniors are in town, so there's certainly stuff going on at Grand Casino Arena. It ain't the Minnesota Wild, but they will be back soon, and we've got tickets for you if you can convince me why you are on the bandwagon, or are you still hesitant? That, too, could be a talkback. What's holding you back? Why are you not a believer? Do you have to see a first-round victory to make you believe in Bill Guerin and what he's doing here for the Wild and the state of hockey? That, too, can be a valid answer. Put it into written form. Either text us at 64686, or you can use that free iHeartRadio app and use the talkback feature. We're giving away tickets, multiple, in over the course of the next couple of hours leading up to 3 o'clock. We're also going to talk a ton of hockey. The World Juniors are going on in St. Paul and Minneapolis. Awesome tournament, has lived up to the hype to this point. I'm very jealous of Zach Halverson and Mark Parrish. They've been calling all the play-by-play action for Team USA on your radio, whether it be for the flagship. Tomorrow night they'll be on there. I think they were on there last night, as a matter of fact. They will be tomorrow, too, once the extended Minnesota Wild post-game finally wraps up, that it just goes on and on. But when that's finally done, Halvey will have Sweden against the Americans. And if Team USA can get the win out of that one, they guarantee themselves a top 2 spot in quarterfinal action as they make their way towards the medal rounds later this week. What else? And then, of course, the Wild going on. So go ahead. We got Russo coming up at about 2 o'clock. We got Halvey at the bottom of the hour. We got our guy John Morosi from NHL Network joining us at the bottom of next hour as well. But when we continue, you know what? Let's bust out Brett Blakemore's breakaways. That's next. Filling in for Common Man on The Fan.
I'm Kirill Kaprizov, and you're listening to The Fan.
Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, tomorrow at 3 on the audio home for Wild Hockey. FM 100.3 KFAN, The Fan.
KFAN welcomes some great shows to Grand Casino Arena next year. Rascal Flatts will be there January 23rd. Eric Church, February 7th. Tickets on sale now. Get complete details on upcoming shows on our concert page, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar. Metallica.
Keyword what?
Keyword calendar.
Metallica.
Hey, this is Nate from Columbia Heights, and what's really got me behind the Wild is the wall from St. Paul with Volstead, but then also Gustafsson, and then our 2 defensemen, Faber and Hughes now. I really think we have a 1-2-3 knockout punch now that can really get us out of the first round, but I am from Minnesota, so I do have a little bit of hesitancy when it comes to playoffs, but I would love to see them succeed beyond the first round. Thanks.
You're welcome. Talkbacks blowing up, text line blowing up as well. From Dan Cole at the 952 area code. I'm always on the bandwagon until I'm not. Zero chance. That's actually Dan Cole, another one of the 612 area code on the bandwagon since we started getting that great defense / goaltending from the 651 area code. I've been on the bandwagon ever since Billy G has been leading it. This man wants to bring a cup here more than anything, and he's showing it by not being afraid to make the necessary moves. Best general manager in the league. Everything feels, another one calls us Skatriots from the 320 area code. From the 651 area code, what's the name of the montage website again? I think that's from Molesky. He might be listening. He's looking for a shortcut. Do your job, Brandon. I'm not giving you any shortcuts or helping you do your job faster. You just put in the work like you always do, and you'll do a great job. You'll be out of that interim label before we know it. Everything's very positive thus far. I guess I shouldn't be surprised at that. Third place in the Central Division, and considering how the season started to how it's going, you would think that there'd be a lot of positivity. But is there someone out there that isn't quite on the bandwagon yet? What do you need to see? That's what we want to hear from you. 64686. You can text that in or use that free iHeartRadio app. We'll weave those in to the show between now and 3 o'clock. And as we mentioned, I'll give away a couple of tickets this hour, couple more next hour. So keep them coming. We'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. The best part about Common not being here, well, there's a number of reasons. I don't have to smell tuna emanating from his Tupperware in this chair. I don't have to get my butt kicked by program password, which is usually why I'm here, so you people can make fun of me. But the other reason is because he leaves that wheel of topic unattended. I know that it's not golf season, and that's why he hasn't used it in forever. We used it during Beyond the Pond. We busted that thing out just maybe about a month ago.
It took some maintenance.
He's sitting there. He has not moved it since I used it last. I want to see if they fix it, because I guarantee you they have not. They're not even going to look at it until next spring. I guarantee it. So let's spin the wheel of topic, and let's see if it's still working the way it should be.
I had a great round in Arizona. We could talk about that again for a second time.
If golf comes up and we have to do it, it's the Wheel of Topic.
Minnesota Wild.
Oh my God.
Wow.
They don't. Does anybody work around here? How can it still be set up like that? Well, that's too bad. I mean, we spun the Wheel of Topic.
We're still in best of mode. I mean, what can you say?
We spun the Wheel of Topic, and we just got to do what it says. So if we're going to talk Minnesota Wild, we may as well do it right. Let's bust out Brett Blakemore's breakaways.
It's time for Brett Blakemore's breakaway.
Kaprizov in alone. Nobody going to catch him. Kaprizov, score!
Remember, I got shafted on Beyond the Pond. We didn't even do it.
Hey, I want to get through the open first.
Blakemore breakaway.
Someone called me Bursage for stepping over the montage that was created organically. I'm sorry, so I didn't want to step over Brett Blakemore's breakaways. You did get snuffed last week, there's no doubt. But you cannot argue with the guest lineup we've had.
That's true.
In the month of November and even into December. Well, I guess we started at the end of November. So when we've been on the air, myself and Pat Micheletti, you by our side, we love getting Brett Blakemore's breakaways. But we've had John Mayasich, we had Zach Parisi. Last week we had Tony Granato and Phil Housley. I mean, when you talk about a star-studded lineup, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's been great. Last week in particular, it was one big guest after another. So it was tough, but I promise you, this is my wish and my lasting, this is what I promise, is what I should say. Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, when Beyond the Pond next takes these airwaves, I promise in that 2-hour window, we will have the return of Brett Blakemore's breakaways, because it's so good. And this will be a good example of what we missed out last week and what we should look forward to this coming Saturday.
We'll go here. I put out a poll yesterday on X. And really, this could be a breakaway every single time I do the segment.
Okay.
So I said, game 1 of the playoffs is tonight.
Okay.
Who do you start in net?
Yeah.
And this is a very scientific poll because, A, everything on Twitter is reality and not nearly warped reality.
Yep.
And 2, only 53 people voted on it. So this is absolutely scientific, but...
Okay, so how do you want me to go about it? Do you want to reveal your results? Do you want me to give you my opinion, or do you want to give your opinion?
Yes. I want you to tell me who you would, and then who do you think won the poll.
A month ago, I would have said Jesper Wallstedt, and I don't know that I would have batted an eye. Though the tear that kid was on, the Great Wall of St. Paul was playing large, and he was showing he's the real deal. I think he should be knocking on the door of the Swedish Olympic team, and he's been doing some amazing things. But let's not forget who the number one goaltender is for the Minnesota Wild right now. I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about right now. Philip Gustafsson is that guy. 13-8-4 on the season, but he's 6-0-1 in his last 7 starts, 9-1-3 in his last 13. Philip Gustafsson has regained the throne as the number one goaltender for the Minnesota Wild right now. In the future, Jesper Wallstedt. Right now, if the playoffs start tonight, I want Philip Gustafsson between the pipes.
With a rousing 64% of the vote, the Great Wall of St. Paul leads. People want, and it's declared that that's the most scientific poll humanly imaginable.
And everyone wanted Max Brosmer, too.
Oh, wow, cheap shot.
Take that, Garty, on your way back from the Dirty Swine, whatever it's called.
Man.
No, I'm just saying, everyone likes the backup, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong. There is no wrong answer. It's like one of the debates I like having with Nicoletti. Who's the better player right now? Do you want McKinnon or do you want McDavid? There's not a wrong answer. And it's the same thing with these two guys. Gustafsson, Wallstedt, both great options. You asked me what I would do tonight if the playoffs were starting, and you're going in round 1 against the Dallas Stars. I want Philip Gustafsson.
We only have like a minute left, so I have to get this one in. I had a few other talkers. But
why do we only have a minute?
We got to get to Halvey?
We have to straddle? Well, he could be a little bit late.
All right. Well,
he's wrecking my New Year's Eve. I'm going to wreck his day before New Year's Eve.
Fair enough.
He's on my time now.
Well, I really want to get this in. And I know you hate when I bring this up.
No, here we go.
And that's why I'm doing it.
Is this about the future? Are we getting about the 2030 lineup?
No, by the way, again, that was this season that I was talking about. I went to the World Juniors game. I missed the entire first period thanks to the road still being icy. I had to drive 10 miles an hour the whole way there. Not bitter about it at all.
Leave earlier?
Good news. Well, I was working. Sorry. Committed to the bit. Good news is the U.S. didn't start playing until the second period anyways.
Wow.
Not a rip. I was very happy about that.
Actually,
it was fantastic.
Yep.
Nothing gets me going more than sports nationalism. There's just something about it that just gets your blood pumping. The goal song for the U.S. is Freebird.
It's awesome.
It's unbelievable. And like the Slovakian goal song, it was fitting. It was weird, but it sounded like something you would hear as you're about to die playing a Squid Game. But that's okay. But our America's goal song is a ripping guitar solo
that's great.
To Freebird, which then goes to say, can we not get rid of Shout? It's so bad. It's completely subjective. There is no.
Yeah,
I hate when people
entitled to an opinion.
Yeah, I hate when people say it's objectively bad. Well, technically, nothing's objectively bad. It's totally subjective. Shout stinks.
Yeah,
bring back. I mean, remember. I mean, that's a
crowd
banger.
Satriani,
yeah,
that's a good one.
Let's Go Crazy was okay, but the Vikings have that. They don't need to do that.
For me, back in the day, it was Gary Glitter, Rock and Roll Part 2.
Can't do that one
You
anymore.
can't do that for obvious reasons. You think Epstein's a bad dude. So kick that one to the curb, but that goes back to my glory. I mean, I don't know. I don't think about it that much.
I know you don't. It drives me crazy.
I know.
I can't stand it.
And I know you're not alone in that thought, but man, I don't know. I do like the Freebird, though. Man, every time they score, it's outstanding. The way Halvey's calling it great on the radio. He's doing a great job with the play-by-play as well, but he's letting it breathe, and we've got some highlights. We can play some of those. But after they score, they have the horn, and then you hear the Freebird rocking out in the background.
Unbelievable.
He scores 6-5, blah, 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 and then he lets it breathe so you can hear the Freebird in the background. It's outstanding. Great job.
I think it just proves that you can put cooler things after the goal. Like, doesn't have to. And I get, save your text. The players voted on it 3 years ago. I understand. It's just not good. It's just not.
Give me one more.
Speaking of Team USA, and this can lead into Halvey. I wasn't trying to rip them when saying they didn't play until the second period, but I do feel like in general they've been playing with their food a little bit more than they should. They are a good team. They are skilled. I mean, I was watching people forecheck around the net, which is a big no-no, but they're so fast they can do it because they just have that amount of speed. I feel like they're just they're playing around a little too much, and they could put these teams to bed. The second game was closer than it needed to be as well. This one was closer than it needed to be. Do you think they're playing with their food a little too much?
I think this is kind of like an all-star team. The way they can whip that puck around and the way they can fire it from all angles and the fancy passes, I think they're just, getting comfortable with each other. I just don't think they're, first of all, I don't think they're as good as they were the past 2 seasons, and someone can correct me if you think I'm wrong. I just think that the last 2 World Juniors, they were a little bit more stacked than this current setup, but that's not to say that this team isn't stacked enough to get a 3rd consecutive gold. Can they do it? That's like asking, can the Wild win the Stanley Cup? Sure, they got to get past Colorado, they got to get past Dallas, they got to get past Florida, any of the other big names out there, and that's the same thing here for the Americans in the World Juniors. They're going to have to deal with Sweden. They're probably going to have to deal with Canada and any of the other top forces from those nations that they're representing their countries, be it at Grand Casino Arena or at 3M Arena at Mariucci. But it's such a fun tournament to watch. Mm-hmm. For those of you, what was it like, the game that you went to? I know that weather wasn't great, but
horrendous. At
least from a fan standpoint, the one that I watched from in there, it wasn't Slovakia. It was the game before that. Switzerland, I think it was, where I was sitting up there doing the Wild broadcast at the same time next to Halvey and Parrish. And it wasn't full. I mean, the top level wasn't jam-packed, but there were a lot of bodies in there, and the atmosphere was outstanding. Every time they scored, it was just electric.
It was absolutely. I've always, Miracle is a movie that I could rewrite from memory. I've seen it so many times. And just hearing, I've never been to a event where you get that with your heart, USA.
Yeah.
And it, means not just like you're doing it after the national anthem or anything, like it means something.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I loved it so much. I love sports nationalism. When the Kachuk brothers fought the Canadians, I could have ran through a wall. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
And that's the best part about the 4 nations leading into the World Juniors. All this is the appetizer, whetting your appetite for the main event, which is coming up in a rapid fire moment. And we'll get into this with Russo at the top of the hour. Of course, we're going to talk Minnesota Wild and what Bill Guerin's going to do to add pieces to this already pretty darn good lineup. But what's going to happen with the Olympics and Team USA? I think they're unveiling on Friday. Team Canada's unveiling their lineup tomorrow, or their roster. So lots of things to get into. There's some guys on the bubble. Are the Wild going to have a conglomeration of, they're going to have a ton of Americans. They're going to have 3 Americans for sure. I think they're going to have more than a few Swedes as well. Mm-hmm. And then you got some other, prospects out there doing some good stuff.
And they're going to have the Rush. Oh,
yeah, I know. Yeah. That's a bummer, and that's for bigger reasons than a stupid hockey tournament. Correct. But it would be fun to see some of those big names.
I'm happy Kaprizov's not going to get hurt. That's good.
Well,
unless he gets hurt ice fishing somewhere.
Didn't El Nino get hurt on an airplane once? He was hanging off the wing. I mean, people do stupid stuff with idle time. I don't think Kirill Kaprizov's that guy, but he'll get an opportunity to rest during the Olympic break, and that'll be good for him, hopefully good for the Wild coming down the stretch. Let's take a break, and then when we continue, I want to remind you, keep sending in those talkbacks and text us at 64686. Couldn't be any easier. Going to award random tickets to a listener that tells us why you are or not on the bandwagon through 40 games of this Minnesota Wild season. What needs to get you to come on over, or what was it that clinched it for you? Why you are a believer now in Bill Guerin, the Minnesota Wild, and all things great about the state of hockey. We'll get to those and your texts soon. By Halvey's joining us next. He's the play-by-play voice of the World Juniors on KFAN.
This is Kirill Kaprizov, and you're listening to Wild Hockey and the Fan.
But Fan, we're your home for giving away tickets. Falness giving away Wild tickets, but we've got your shot at tickets this weekend's border battle all week long by showing us your purple preset. Here's what you do. You go to KFAN on the iHeartRadio app. You set it as your preset, screenshot it, and post it to your socials with the hashtag KFAN Purple Preset. Make sure you follow and tag KFAN as well. Winners DM'd this Friday. Get full rules, KFAN.com. Keyword contest, KFAN.com. Keyword contest.
Riker Lee, the Michigan State Spartan, gives it over, gets it back, left side, circle, back door, shot, score! Will Sellers on the power play! And it's 6-4, Team USA! Sent long back into the USA end. They'll return the favor. It's backhanded deep. time expires, and Team USA, in a thriller, takes down Team Slovakia. The final score, USA 6, Slovakia 5.
The voice of Halvey. Zach Halverson, Mark Parrish with all the play-by-play action to this point on the radio and your audio home for the World Juniors, KFAN and KFAN The Plus. You guys are having way too much fun in that Al Shaver press box following the exploits of a Team USA squad that's gone out to a 3-0 start in the preliminary rounds. How much fun are you having, Halvey?
Yeah, we had a moment during one of the media timeouts yesterday where I just looked over at Mark and I said, "How fun is this?" I mean, it's a dream come true. Just an incredible atmosphere down there, and then obviously the hockey. It's so good. It's living up to this year-long wait for this to finally be here. It is here. It is fun. Freebird is flowing, and it's such a great chance and great opportunity to be able to call these games with Mark and even you as well eventually here, Falness.
Yeah, we'll be on with you tomorrow after that exhaustingly long post-game show that the Wild make me put on, following hopefully a win over the Sharks at the Shark Tank. But then we'll get John Hines on. We'll probably do 8 player interviews, and then finally we'll throw it upstairs to Halvey to bring us all the play-by-play action of what should be. I mean, this is setting up for, I know everyone looks forward to USA Canada, but this is pretty darn good. A New Year's Eve battle between the Americans and the Swedes. I'd have to imagine you're excited to call that one.
Yeah, Sweden's had a very similar run here through the preliminary round. They've, had the big victory over Germany and then a couple of close battles with Switzerland and Slovakia as well. So, this is going to be certainly Team USA's toughest challenge yet. And obviously there is the history between Sweden and U.S. and it's just, the fact that you have that on New Year's Eve, where downtown St. Paul is going to be rocking. It's one of those games where if you can make it out there, certainly do so. Tickets are available. WorldJuniorsMN26.com. Go through that official portal there and get your butt down to Grand Casino Arena tomorrow night if you can. Obviously, would love for you to join us on KFAN. But I'm very, very much excited to see what this team can do. It's been they've had moments where you're shaking your head and you're worried, and then they come back and they really do impress, and they've gotten the wins that they needed to get. But again, Sweden, I think, certainly the toughest test, and it's probably good to have that test going into a quarterfinal round where things will only continue to get more difficult.
Yeah, that's the excitement about this tournament. It just ramps up as it goes on. You get through the round robin, you let the cards fall where they may, and then you get into the medal rounds, and the quarterfinals, like you said, start on Friday. It looks like the Americans have the 5:00 game on Friday in round number 1, and now the question, or in the quarterfinals, now the question is, who will they face as the number 1 or number 2 seed? So that remains to be seen. The big thing they can do is help themselves tomorrow with a win over Sweden. I've had an opportunity to hear a good chunk of the play-by-play that both you and Mark Parrish are providing to the listeners. Did you guys have a conversation prior to the tournament? You both are seasoned professionals. You know what you're doing, but was it a thing where you guys talked about it in advance to let the Freebird breathe a little bit coming out of a goal, or is it just something that happened organically?
Oh, no. Mark Parrish, he's a pro, and he's called many games, and I think he knows the right time to win, when it is his turn to come in and analyze, and he is so good with the analyzing of the goals and everything else. So we didn't really have an actual, and in fact, I will say this too, is we've been talking about this for the better part of a year on our Wednesday and Friday mornings when he comes in for the power trip, and I don't think we got anything too specific. But what's been cool is just how natural it has been. I think that does come from being on the radio with him for multiple years, and actually we had called games back in the day with the high school hockey tournament. So we do have some history, but no, it's been really natural working with Mark, and he's about as excited and energetic as I've ever seen. Obviously, he is a Team USA guy through and through. Played in this tournament, played in the Olympics, wore that red, white, and blue strong, and now he's living vicariously, I think, through these guys down there on the ice and loving every second of it. So it's all passion. It's all just being there and just, again, being so grateful that we get to do this on a nightly basis now, and just can't wait to get back at it tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, you talk about Mark Parrish, and I was talking to Brett about some of the guys we've had on Beyond the Pond over the course of the last month leading up to this event. And Parrish, as diehard Team USA as they come, and rooting for the red, white, and blue, of course. But go back to John Mayasich, a guy that played in the 60s. Yeah. He can't believe that this tournament is finally in Minnesota again. Zach Parisi, we talked to him. Phil Housley last week. Tony Granato as well, doing some fine work there on the TV side. There's something special about this tournament, no doubt. Give me the strength and the weaknesses of this USA squad. I watch them, and it feels like an all-star team, but at the same time, they're not clicking like one just yet. Is there too much talent, if that's even possible, or what's standing in their way of going and putting up a three-peat?
Well, that's certainly, I think, clicking is the right term. I mean, they've got so much talent. It's just the challenge is, of course, harnessing it. And, every one of these guys are, their best player basically on whatever team they came from to come out here and play. And so it's a little tough to go from being the guy to being just one of the guys. And, we're seeing that, I think, in real time. We saw it especially against Slovakia where, it started out a little shaky. They came out flying and they were moving the puck and they were, got some great scoring opportunities in the first couple minutes. But then again, it sort of unraveled into this, everybody trying to maybe do it themselves or, be way too fancy with it. And that's been a problem throughout the tournament as everybody's trying to make this highlight reel geek and not just move the puck properly. And a lot of times Team USA is paying for that by, giving up a breakaway or an odd man rush the other way. But I think the third period in particular yesterday was about as encouraging as we've seen all year. They obviously gave up the one goal late in the third, but otherwise had two goals to close that thing out, especially even in the second half of that second period as well. They seem to find a way to really harness all that talent. We're seeing guys like Chase Reed who are stepping up in the wake of Cole Hudson, who went down at just a terrible injury on Saturday and was able to. We were very lucky that we found out that after the game that he eventually did make it back with the team, and now he's day-to-day. But, scary moments there. That's a big loss. But you said guys like, Chase are stepping up. And, some other, great, guys are stepping up as well. I mean, we look at Adam Kleber, Minnesota Duluth. He's been a solid force on that blue line right now. And so it's everybody's, again, having to pitch in to make up for the lost talent, but then also recognize that they all are also still very, very talented and figure out a way to use that, properly. And, we always talk about special teams too. And that's another thing that seemed to, again, get better as the last three games have gone on, especially last night against Slovakia. And they will need to have those special teams clicking on all cylinders here, firing on all cylinders coming up against Sweden and whoever they play Friday, and hopefully the next two after that.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll hear all that action either here on KFAN or KFAN The Plus, led by Zach Halverson, most likely, and hopefully with Mark Parrish. If he's not available, then you're stuck with me, and we'll have a lot of fun sitting up there in the Al Shaver press box, calling the action through January 5th, as long as the Americans are still battling for a medal. Give me a name that you didn't expect, that you've watched thus far in the tournament, that you've really enjoyed watching, that maybe you didn't know as much about coming into the tournament, but 3 games deep, you know this name pretty well now.
It's really hard because obviously all these names are so familiar. So I don't want to insult anybody too much. But I will say, Will Zeller, we knew how good he was coming in, and it's not a major surprise. But to have 3 game winners through 3 games played in the World Junior Championship is all the more just impressive. I mean, he is, I believe, a +5 and through 3 games as well. He's coming up in big moments. He's, again, not always flashy, but when he is the puck, he's dangerous. I think AJ Spellacy was a key part to the success of Team USA yesterday. He worked so hard in the offensive zone, forced some turnovers, made some plays happen, was able to get a goal himself. But I would say AJ Spellacy maybe in the less flashier side, but even knowing what his reputation has been, Will Zeller's Maple Grove native, really representing the state of hockey well on the international stage, getting the goals when necessary, and has a wonderful shot, just one of the many, obviously, great shots on this Team USA squad.
All right, one last question for you, and I don't think this is a dumb question, especially the way you've answered a previous question like this before to get into the preposterous statement tournament. We know that you'd rather call a high school game and the Boys State High School Hockey Tournament than a Stanley Cup final. That's what I think was entered into the PST tournament not all that long ago. So how does this compare to the State High School Hockey Tournament, which I know you love and you live and breathe it? And if White Bear ever gets out of the first round, boy, you're just going to have one heck of a fine day up there on White Bear Lake. But this is international hockey, Halvey. You're representing a country, not just your little community. How does the World Juniors compare to the Boys State High School Hockey Tournament?
It's so I don't know. I've been trying to answer that question myself, and it's so different and it's such a good way. This is on a whole new level. I mean, this is the speed of the game, the skill. Obviously, we're only just beginning here on this. I will tell you this. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close in terms of thrill between this and the high school hockey tournament this week with game tomorrow night and then hopefully beyond. So I think that, with all that on the line, I think this might edge out the high school hockey tournament on an individual game basis. And certainly on an individual tournament basis. I don't know if I'd still have fun regardless if I'm calling this tournament, even if I'm in Sweden or wherever this tournament is. But the fact that it is on not only American soil, but state of hockey soil, and being able to celebrate this great tournament that, I remember waking up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch it on, NHL Network because it was, across the pond, and the fact that, you could watch this all your life and to see this thing finally, in this building. I mean, I was watching highlights last night on TV, and I'm like, it's just so cool to see this event here, and then to have the opportunity to call it. It's been a very, very special week, and I hope it continues to be that way, and hopefully we have a few more opportunities coming up.
Hermantown.
That's on the international stage. And take me to high school then real quick. Is this the year finally for White Bear? Tell me this is their year. Are they stacked for success?
I think, they've got as good a shot as they've ever had. They took Kilmurray to a 1-goal loss, but they've had some really good wins and really good ties. It's been an up and down year, but
we don't celebrate moral victories, Halvey. Not
no,
here.
We don't.
Not now.
We don't. But we'll get them back in February or March or whenever they play again. Hopefully in that section final, and love more games to call in St. Paul.
That's when it counts. Halvey, thank you for doing this. Can't wait to work by your side on New Year's Eve tomorrow. Once that exhaustive, long post-game show finally wraps up as the Wild take on the San Jose Sharks. Hopefully we can wrap it up in under an hour, and we'll get to you sometime probably during the third period of that game against Sweden. I'm just kidding. We'll get to you by the second for sure.
Can't wait, Kevin, and hope you join us. It's going to be fun.
All right, there he is. Halvey, the voice of the World Juniors here on The Fan and KFAN+. I give Halvey as much grief as anyone, maybe outside of the guys on the power trip, but he is doing a fantastic job. So easy to listen to. Hopefully you had fun listening to him and Parrish in the first 3 games. It looks like it's me and him tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens as the tournament rolls on this weekend. Hopefully Parrish back in that L. Shaver press box, because he's a natural too, man. He should be calling that game, especially when it's the red, white, and blue. He belongs behind the mic, so hopefully we can do that. I want to get to a break. Give me 1 or 2 more talkbacks before we get to Russo in the 2 o'clock hour.
Hey boys, absolutely I'm on the bandwagon. However, I have 2 concerns. Number 1, Colorado. Number 2, Dallas. We need to figure out how to consistently get past those 2 clubs. Black Friday was awesome. However, that needs to be the norm and not the anomaly. Hughes needs to be the answer to that. Hopefully that is knock on ice. Let's go Wild.
Knock on ice. Good touch. Keep those talkbacks coming. Again, we're asking you, are you a believer? Not to bring in the monkeys, but are you a believer? Are you still skeptical? What made you jump back on the bandwagon after a tough ousting in the first round of the playoffs last year to Vegas? What brought you back over to the dark side? Or are you still skeptical? Do you need more despite 54 points in the first 40 games and 2 potential 50 goal scorers on this roster? 2 guys in the top 3, in the top 5 of goal scoring in the National Hockey League. Jesper Wallstedt, Danilo Urov. There's all sorts of great things to hang your hat on. What is it that you need to see still to bring you back onto the bandwagon for the Minnesota Wild? One more talkback.
Hi, this is Kip in Woodbury. Totally excited about the Wild and totally on the bandwagon. Great goaltending, top scoring. Hughes rounds out the defense. All looks good. All we need now is a powerhouse center like Tage Thompson or Ryan O'Reilly. Go Wild.
Yep, I think that's on a lot of people's wish list. We'll see what Russo says about that and more. He'll join us after the break. By the way, going back to your conversation about the goal song, Brett, this is a great example. Eric in Circle Pines, Shout, terrible goal song, 100%. Meanwhile, the very next text from the 6501 area code, Blakemore is insane. We love Shout every time we go to the game. So
it's subjective.
Yeah, 100%. So,
and in my opinion, it's terrible.
Yeah, don't let it ruin your day. Hopefully, we hear it a lot because that means they're scoring some goals, and who knows what happens in the future. I do know this much. On the other side of break, everyone's favorite blogger will join us right here on The Fan. It's Michael Russo next.
Heck of a hockey game, the second of 2 great games here at the X thus far.
Hi, this is Joel Eriksson on the audio home of the Minnesota Wild. iHeartRadio and FM 100.3 KF.
Before the ball drops, drop your take. It's a Purple Talkback Tuesday on KFAN. Open the iHeartRadio app, hit the red mic, and in 30 seconds or less, you can tell us your favorite Vikings moment from 2025. Winners all day. KFAN.com, keyword contest for more information. KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Hey, Mr. Falness, I am 100% on the Wild bandwagon. I think that big turnaround early in the season made that easy, but then the trade for Hughes just put me over the top. Gotta love the lineup we have now. Our goaltending is great, and I can see us making a run this year.
Yes, keep those talkbacks coming. Giving away tickets to an upcoming Minnesota Wild home game. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're not a believer. Maybe you don't think that they've done enough to gain your loyalty back. 54 points and 24 wins in the first 40 games. Considering how bad it was in the month of October, it feels like things are trending in the right direction. They're 21-4-3 since November 1st. I'd say it's more than just a trend. I don't think it's a mirage, but hopefully they can keep it going into the new year. I know everyone's favorite blogger will be writing about it ad nauseum, and he joins us now, what I assume is from San Jose, Michael Russo of The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. Good afternoon, Michael.
How are you? Yeah, the Wild, they're having a rare practice on the road. I don't know if everybody's going to do on the ice, but with an afternoon game tomorrow and New Year's Day off in Anaheim or Newport Beach area, they're definitely getting on the ice today.
Well, that's a good thing, right? I mean, because they haven't had an opportunity to practice hardly at all, just because of the condensed schedule, and it's going to be more of the same on the other side of the Olympic break.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if Quinn Hughes, actually, I got to look this up. I don't know if Quinn Hughes has practiced yet with the Wild. And if he has, it's been one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the way that this type of schedule has been. Here in the month of January, they just had 16, 17 games this month. They're going to have 16, 17 games next month. It's just crazy. And this is going to be a norm. This isn't like an aberration. This isn't going to be an every 4-year thing with the international calendar coming back to the NHL with the World Cup every 2 years and then the Olympics every 2-year cycle after that. I mean, this is going to be an every couple-year thing where the schedule is super condensed, and we're seeing it throughout the National Hockey League right now, where just injuries and injuries galore. The Leafs just got banged up. We saw Vegas last night. They're without Eichel and Carlson and Theodore. Then they lose Hurdle 2 minutes into the game with the boarding major, and it just makes things really tough on teams. And the Wild went through it, and right now they're, knock on wood, healthy.
Maybe this isn't as easy as just saying this, but couldn't they start the season a week or two earlier? We start October 1st. I mean, they're adding 2 more games to the regular season now, which I'm all for. The less amount of preseason hockey, the better, if you ask me. Throw on 5 more games in the regular season, but you got to figure out a way to make it work in a bigger window.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is going to be the goal, is to start the season really starting next year at the end of September, which is basically about 10, 12 days earlier than normal. And so they've got to do it. They're going to have 84-game seasons now. I mean, right now, the last couple of years, the Stanley Cup Finals, especially if you go 7 games, it butts right up into the draft and then free agency. And it just makes, for teams that go and win the Cup or go to the Cup Finals, every year, like Edmonton and Florida has done the last couple of years, it makes for incredibly short off seasons. And, you see the byproduct of that sometimes with just the level of play on the ice. But, as you mentioned with the Wild and the callback before with the bandwagon, the one thing that I've been really, excited about covering this team is not just the wins, but the games are so entertaining right now.
Yeah.
And, if you're a Wild fan, I know that everybody's always cynical because of the first-round exits and, wake me up, show me when they win around. I mean, the goal of professional sports is to have fun, watch successful seasons, and then to be entertained, and the Wild are doing all of the above right now.
Are you willing to predict 250 goal scorers on this team this year in Boldy and Kaprizov? We knew that we had the Robin to the Batman, but now do we have 2 Batmans?
Yep. I think that's a well put statement, and if they're both healthy, they're going to both hit that. And this is as good as we've seen Boldy play. He's absolutely on fire right now. He's delivering every single night. He's playing a totally complete brand of hockey, and he's doing it on a shutdown line, which is to me even more impressive. Because by definition you should be you're going up against the best players every night. You're going to be in the defensive zone a lot, but he has been just phenomenal. And we saw the goal last night that he scored. So the Wild do such a great job with that line on the ice of getting the puck up and at him up the ice, and it just it's created odd man rushes. It's just been really cool. And then Kaprizov just does his thing. The one thing I will say is now with Rossi gone, is I still think that is going to be the area that Bill Guerin's going to try to look at adding here at some point in advance of the March 6th trade deadline. It's not like there's just superstar number 1 centers out there that you can go and acquire, but we saw it last night. I mean, whether you're flipping Hartman or you're putting Yurov, the reality is that Kaprizov needs probably some help. And we see it at times when that line is getting outmatched that John Hines will put Eriksson Ek and Boldy with Kaprizov. But at some point, they're probably going to have to get a real upper echelon center that's going to play with those guys and even out the lines, and we'll see if that happens.
So my wish list, and again, I'm like on the Brett Blakemore school of thought and asking this question. I'm just a rube. I'm sitting on the sideline, and I'm saying, all right, I want to go pick some guy off another roster that I think is gettable, and I think that would fit in incredibly nicely here. And the name that I keep hearing is Ryan O'Reilly. Is that a target that you think would be a possible acquisition for Bill Guerin? He already grabbed Quinn Hughes, which no one ever would have predicted. How tangible, how possible is it to put Ryan O'Reilly in a Minnesota Wild uniform before the end of the season? Because I think he'd fit like a glove.
Yeah, I agree. To me, watching him the other night when they played the Wild, I thought Ryan is still playing at an incredibly high level. He wins draws. He's not the same offensive guy, but he's incredibly disciplined, great in his own end. He's going to start with the puck. And it'll allow John to throw him out in key face-off situations if they ever were able to do it. Now, to get to your first question, I think the Wild are targeting him. I think a lot of teams are targeting him. Barry Trotz has been pretty open and honest about the fact that if he was ever going to move Ryan O'Reilly, it's going to be up to Ryan, even though he's got no trade protection. And then because of that, Ryan's almost going to get to pick a spot. And so, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't look at Minnesota right now. They have a really good chance of winning the Cup. But I don't know what's going on in Ryan's mind. I know he's entrenched in Nashville. They're starting to play great hockey. They got off to a terrible start this year. They've won, I think, 11 of their last 15 games. So right now they're putting themselves back into a picture where in this conference with so many teams actually at the bottom of the NHL standings, Nashville actually has a chance to, earn themselves a playoff spot. And so with the pressure that's on those guys in Nashville, I don't think that they're going to feel the need or the pressure to move guys right away. But we'll see what happens in the next, couple months as we get closer to the trade deadline.
Who are some other names that are floating around out there? You don't have to even reveal your sources. Just tell me some of the from a fan standpoint, who's out there that you think would be a great fit on this team other than a Ryan O'Reilly that you think they could go get that would add to potentially the top six, could help them down the middle or add some scoring depth?
Yeah, it's interesting because scoring depth, there's more of those type of players out there that could potentially be on the move. Like if Buffalo does fall out and they don't re-sign Alex Tuch, maybe it's Tuch. If the Rangers are not a playoff team, maybe a Panarin. But those guys aren't centers, and that's where I really still feel is the biggest need for the Wild. But if you can get a really elite offensive scorer, it's going to really deepen up the lineup and give the Wild more options. Up the middle, probably the best offensive center that's available right now, most likely going to be available at the end of the year if they don't re-sign him, and that's Utah I'm talking about, is Nick Schmaltz. I am not the biggest Nick Schmaltz fan, although he always seems to light the Wild up. But his offensive numbers have really come down from a really unbelievable start to the season. So we'll see where it goes. There's just no doubt in my mind that when you invest what the Wild just did in Quinn Hughes, and they really feel like the window right now is to turn themselves into a true Cup contender, and you're facing most likely Dallas in the first round of the playoffs, they probably need one more guy. And I think that Bill Guerin, even though he's obviously going to play coy about it, he's always going to try to improve the team. And if he can figure out a way to add, especially to me, up the middle, I think that he'll try to do that at some point.
I was browsing my favorite app on my phone, which I can also get via my computer, and it's The Athletic and theathletic.com. And I saw a piece on there about extensions potentially for a couple of guys that need to be extended, whether it be a Zach Bogosian, a Matt Zuccarello, but dare I say Marcus Johansson. Who would have thought we would have been talking about that coming into the season? I think there's a lot of fans out there that had the haterade pouring in all over the place in the fact that, you're re-signing Marcus Johansson. You know what's going to happen? He's going to end up in the top six. Well, thank God he did, Michael. A one-year deal. Now, the question is, if you do extend him, do you dare go past 1 year? Because it feels like that one-year contract really motivated that guy.
Yeah, first of all, to your point, he's been absolutely excellent, and it's just been really remarkable to watch just how consistently good he has been from the start of the year. He's really gone through no ruts at all, other than maybe one in early December or late November, where he just seemed to not be getting points. But the second he gets back with Boldy and Eriksson, it just seems to work. And if it were me and I was Bill Guerin and he was interested in coming back, I would go on a series of one-year deals. Yeah. I don't think you give him term. The question is, after a year like this, would he come back for $800,000 again? I know his agent wasn't very happy that he was willing to do that. But that's how much Marcus loves Minnesota and wanted to stay in Minnesota and not go anywhere else in the National Hockey League. It was literally him going back to Farstad in his hometown of Karlstad, or where he lives in Karlstad, Sweden, or coming back to Minnesota. But it was one or the other. And so if he wants to come back the way he's playing, I would absolutely, especially since they've just gotten rid of, guys like Ogren and Rossi. Now it's not like there's young guys ready to just suddenly come into the lineup. So I think it makes a lot of sense. He technically, because he signed a one-year deal, he's eligible for an extension starting January 1. I did, correspond with his agent right now. There hasn't been conversation, but, at some point maybe that will change. Same thing with Zuccarello. If he wants to come back, it's probably going to be up to him, and same thing with Bogosian. The key is that I don't know if Billy is going to be in a rush to do anything. If I were him, I would wait, because if all of a sudden there is a huge trade that falls into his lap, but that player has term, you don't want to all of a sudden box yourself in because you're giving contracts to guys for next year now when there's really no rush to make that decision right now.
So this is Michael Russo of The Athletic and theathletic.com. Of course, we go to him for all things Minnesota Wild, but you also have your finger on the pulse of what's going on with the Olympics. And watching the World Juniors here in St. Paul and Minneapolis, for that matter, it's really starting to amp up the fun that international hockey brings to you. And that will be the case there in Milan. Since we're talking Marcus Johansson, let's jump over to Team Sweden for a second. I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that Jules Eriksson Ek and Jonas Brodin are on that team. Philip Gustafsson on that team between the pipes. Marcus Johansson, Jesper Wallstedt. I think they're bubble guys. If you're the manager of Team Sweden, do you put those two guys on the roster?
If it were me, I 100% would, especially for Wally, because right now Allmark, one is on a leave of absence, and Markstrom, they both have not been good this year. And to me, the two best Swedish goalies in the NHL reside in Minnesota. So I would put on the team. And Johansson, I absolutely would. To me, if I look, when I did it on the plane today, I was kind of jotting what I think would be Team Sweden. I get to between Marcus Johansson and William Eklund, coincidentally, who plays here in San Jose. Really good young player that is clearly going to be a huge future of Team Sweden. But to me, the way that Marcus has played, I would love to have that guy on my team. And the other thing with him is that a lot of times, there's sort of a reciprocal gratitude when you do things like he does, which is always answer the call when Sweden calls and go and represent his country in international tournaments. He's represented Sweden in the last two World Championships. He was excellent in both. They medaled in both. He was in the 2014 Sochi Olympics. There's only 4 or 5 Swedes that are probably going to make the roster that did that. And there's not many NHLers, so he's got Olympic experience, so I think that he's got a great chance.
Very interesting. From my understanding, the Canadians are revealing their roster tomorrow, the Americans on Friday. You can confirm that?
Yes. Today's show for Speak of the Devil, first one on the ice, Marcus Johansson.
Right on.
On the Today Show at 8 a.m., 8:25-ish Eastern time on Friday will be United States, and one of the names that I know will be on the Today Show is Jack Hughes, so I assume that he knows he's making the team.
Yeah.
And I believe Layla Edwards will be representing the women.
You'd have to assume Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber are going to be your top pair, right? Tell me that's the case.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that is like Slavin and Faber were so good at the Four Nations, and they're probably going to be a penalty kill pair. So even though if Hughes and Faber play is great for this next month, I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee that they're the top pair. You could still split them up and then have it in your back pocket if you ever need to make tweaks that deep down that Hughes and Faber can play together. So my guess still is that going into the tournament, it's going to be Slavin and Faber as a pair, and probably Hughes and McAvoy, but we'll see. I mean, McAvoy and Faber, as I always say, I mean, they're basically doppelgangers, both in the way they look and the way they play. But my guess is it'll be Hughes and McAvoy to start. Mike Sullivan's also his father-in-law, so that might help him. We'll see what happens.
Hey, Russo, Brett here. A couple USA borderline guys with the roster coming out soon that I'm interested in are Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson. They're both smaller guys. They're not really Bill Guerin guys where they can put the puck in the net. Do they have any chance to make this U.S. Olympic roster?
Yeah, actually, Jason's got pretty good stature. It's Cole that's kind of smaller. Jason, he's one of those guys. It's like, I don't know, like when scouts go watch him, they're never wowed by him. But then at the end of the night, he's got 2 goals, and he doesn't skate the greatest. He's not overly physical. And so to your point, he's not exactly the Bill Guerin type. But he has the second most goals in the NHL, tied, I think, with Boldy, since I don't know how you leave him off, but I think they're leaving him off. Yesterday in Minnesota, actually, Bill Guerin met with both Chris and Pat Kelleher, John Van Beesbrook, Stan Bowman, Chris Drury, Tom Fitzgerald, Bill Zito, and they basically picked the roster. I think it's been picked. Everything that I heard going into that, even though it was still a debate about J-Rob, I was getting the impression that they still were leaning toward putting players like Brock Nelson and Vincent Trocheck on the team. I do think Tage Thompson's making the team. I think it's probably between Clayton Keller and Jason Robertson for that last spot, and it just would not shock me if basically Keller gets it over him just because he was at the World Championships and so good. So, the one thing that Bill Guerin's going to have to do really well here in the next couple of days as he informs players who made the team and not made the team is look, there's going to be some sour grapes. There's going to be some disappointment. But if, say, a guy like J-Rob doesn't make it, he's probably first out of the bullpen if there's an injury. And as I mentioned with the Wild having 16, 17 games in January, all these teams in this league have they're just a lot of hockey to be played, and they're a banged-up team already. So just because Jason may not wind up on the roster on January 2nd doesn't mean that he can't be on the roster February 7th when they all fly over to Milan. So Giuliani's got to do a really good job of convincing the players that are going to be understandably disappointed that, like, look, keep your head up. I might be calling you. This isn't about, this is about fit and things like that. He's going to have to do a really good job, and I think that he knows that he's going to have to do that. But when you have a talent pool as deep as the United States, these are the tough decisions that you have to make, and the goal is to make a really good team, not an all-star team. And I think that Bill Guerin and his staff really liked the way they played at the Four Nations, liked the mix of the players, and right now I think that there's going to be very few changes. Maybe 3 additions, if I had to guess. If I had to guess right now, it'd be Tage Thompson, Clayton Keller, and probably Seth Jones, but we'll see. They had obviously their final meeting yesterday, and maybe things have changed.
I want to let you go on this note because I know you want to go watch practice, and I would definitely appreciate your time there from San Jose. Wild taking on the Sharks tomorrow. Extended pregame starts at 2:00. Puck drops just after 3 right here on KFAN. Let's briefly touch on the Canadians then. Give me your prediction. Biggest snub and maybe biggest surprise that'll be on that roster.
Biggest snub probably Connor Bedard. I think that he's also going to be first out of the bullpen. I think Celebrini's on it. The one that the guy that it certainly sounds like is going to be on the team is Tom Wilson. That's probably the biggest surprise. Somebody that didn't make the Four Nations. Obviously, there's no fighting in the Olympics. It's not allowed. But on a smaller ice rink than an NHL size, when you are assuming that you're going to probably play, NHL, the United States or Sweden in the finals, I think putting a Tom Wilson on the team makes a lot of sense. So that's probably going to be the biggest addition. And as I said, Bedard probably the biggest snub.
Are you going right from this road trip to Milan, or when do you leave?
No, I leave February 2nd for the women actually start before the men.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cover the women's tournament start. So I'll get there February 3rd. I get there like a week before the NHLers. But yeah, no, I'll be back in Minnesota, and then I am on that. The Wild have a trip to Buffalo in Eastern Canada. I'll be on that, and then get myself ready for the Olympics.
Will it be weird traveling Italy without LaPanta chaperoning you everywhere?
That's a good point. It's going to be relaxing. That's for sure. Much more relaxing, a lot less stressful. And a lot quieter. He likes to talk.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you hear anyone. You've got your head buried in your phone every second of every day, whether you're texting someone or you're talking to someone or you're tweeting something. LaPanta's a little bit more aloof when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I know you'll have fun.
I use the word obnoxious, but I hear you.
All right, buddy. Go enjoy practice. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, see you, Kevin. See you, Brett.
Michael Russo of The Athletic and TheAthletic.com joining us from San Jose. Again, extended pregame starting tomorrow at 2:00, leading into the Wild and Sharks pregame on the network. Starts at 2:45. Puck drops, I think, at 3:08 here in the Central Time Zone. We'll bring you that. Then we'll go into that extended postgame show, hopefully celebrating yet another Wild victory as they attempt to start this 7-game road trip. A perfect 3-0. And if they do that, we'll bring you John Hines postgame comments. We'll probably talk to the equipment guy guys, Kirill Kaprizov, his interpreter, the whole works. And then finally we'll get to Halvey as he brings you the Americans and the Swedes in the final game of the round-robin portion of the World Juniors. That game will be joined in progress after the Wild and Sharks right here on The Fan. We'll take a break, and then when we continue, get to more of your talkbacks. We'll get to your texts as well, giving away Wild tickets to an upcoming Minnesota Wild home game. If you want to go, all you got to do is tell us, are you on the bandwagon or are you still off it? What needs to happen to get you on this side of the good side of the state of hockey? Do all that, and we'll get to some of those next on The Fan.
Hi, this is Brock Faber on the audio home of the Minnesota Wild. iHeartRadio and FM 100 point.
It's a border battle week, and we've got your final shot to be the rube of the game this season. Swing by the plaza outside U.S. Bank Stadium this weekend before kickoff. Visit the KFAN booth, ask for the street team, and how you can score Papa Murphy's game day meal deals for a year. KFAN.com, keyword calendar for more details. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Michael. This is Mark from Apple Valley. Say, I was just wondering, just have a little concern about, it's a great start for the Wild, obviously, but when they come back from the Olympic break, playing in the Olympics, and do you see any kind of a lull or slow to go, being the Wild will probably have a lot of players in the Olympics and then traveling and stuff, so just kind of worried about the start after the Olympics, but it's been a great start, so let's go Wild.
Yeah, well said there, Captain Talkback. I agree. First 40 games, it's been an unbelievable ride, and there's been plenty to hang your hat on for those of you that are debating whether to or not to get on that bandwagon. The vast majority of you have jumped on the back onto the bandwagon, and for good reason. But I get it. And, everyone's going to be in the same boat. When it comes out of that Olympic break, it ain't going to be easy to just pick up where you left off. But, for the guys that aren't playing in the Olympics, it'll be a good chance to rest, relax, get some vitamin D in your skin. For the rest of them, though, I mean, who can argue playing Olympic hockey, battling for your country on an international stage? Nothing quite like it, and ask any of those guys that I've been talking about, not only a Zach Parise or a Phil Housley or a Mark Parrish, John Mayasich. He still talks about it, and that was like 50, 60 years ago that he was doing it. It's just something special about it, and it should be no different whether it's this weekend in the World Juniors or coming up in a couple of months there in Milan. We like to bring back the bits that are the Common Man Show, and we did the Wheel of Topic. We even put together a montage. Yeah, we fixed the Wheel of Topic. I hope it's like that the next time he tries to fire it up. We, of course, had the montage to open the show. Why don't we do 5, 3, 4? Whatever it's called.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
Now, first of all, time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
This is shocking.
I was just going to say, we're not going to have time for 5. We might not even have time for 4 or 3, but we got to get in a couple and get away from the hockey, I was going to say. But let's do the Minnesota Wild. What do you got, Brett?
Well, I got one question that I didn't get to in breakaway, so we're using it here. Okay. Danila Yurov got moved back up to the top line. Do you like him better, Kev, in the top line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello, or do you like him on the Krem line? Is that what we were calling it? The Krem line with Tarasenko and Trenyan. Where do you like Danila Yurov in this lineup as it stands right now, December 30th, 2025?
This is where I could go common, and I could argue either point. Like, whatever you take, I could take the counterpoint and make a valid argument. I like him in between those top 2 wingers because of the fact that he's reliable defensively, but I could also put him in a grinding role because he's so good. He's not out there because eventually maybe for his offensive acumen, at some point he's going to get to that point where he's comfortable putting the puck in the net and being a little bit more prolific offensively, but he's so rock solid defensively that I don't mind him in a defensive checking role either. So I can make the argument either way, and that would be a good way to start an argument with you. You pick one way and I'll go the other way, and we'll go tooth and nail.
Yeah, I agree with you that you could make an argument either way. I do like him on the top line. I think him and Kaprizov pair well, and I like having a top center that's young and exciting, put the puck in the net. He's very good.
You always like to root for the young guys, though, regardless. So,
question number 2.
Go Vikings, let's win this game. You'll hear us yell for more.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the state of the Skull.
It's Border Battle Week, and it is maybe the most meaningless border battle in border battle history.
Oh, there's been a few.
The Packers have absolutely nothing to play for. The Vikings have absolutely nothing to play for. They're more or less locked into a 15 to 20 pick. The only thing that they could play for is potentially a fourth place schedule, which is a difference of like 3 games. And the Packers, they've got nothing to play for. They're locked into their seed. They're 7 no matter what. They control nothing. What's the best case scenario for Vikings fans on Sunday?
Send the Packers into the playoffs with a limp. I don't care what it looks like. I don't want anyone to get hurt, but okay. I want them to go in with their ego bruised. Come into U.S. Bank Stadium and think, okay, we got nothing to play for. We already know we're going to the playoffs. Well, here you go. We're going to light you up for 30-some points. The defense is going to lock you down, and you're going to go into the playoffs thinking, maybe we're not as good as we think we are.
Oh, we're already thinking that. Don't you worry. One more.
Question number 3. Humorous or heinous?
We were trying to get out of hockey, but I brought it back because I wanted to. This Barzal story, are you familiar?
I'm not.
Matthew Barzal, Islanders player. 2 hands. So Mason Marchment, Blue Jackets.
Yep.
He kind of stuck out a knee. It's the equivalent of like a chicken wing, but with the knee.
Yep.
Yes, knee to knee.
I did
so
see
then
that.
Barzal skates over and 2-hand Paul Bunyan axes him right on top of the skate, which any hockey player knows that's like a top 2 place to not get hit.
Yep.
That is somewhat padded. He gets a $5,000 fine, which is maximum, no suspension. Is that slash
humorous or heinous?
Marchman is one of those guys that if he's on your roster, you love it. But he's on the opposition, so you love to hate him. And he's one of those guys. He had it coming. You know, he stuck out his knee on Matthew Schaefer, one 100%. Of the great young players in our game today. And you just can't run around with reckless abandon like that. So he got what he deserved, and it's too bad that he got the 2-hand chop right over the top of his skate laces. And you're right. Hurts like hell, but he had it coming.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Quick break, and then we'll wrap it up. You're listening to Falness and Blakemore in for Common and Molesky on The Fan.
Back into the USAN, they'll return the favor. It's backhanded deep. Time expires, and Team USA, in a thriller, takes down Team Slovakia. The final score: USA 6, Slovakia 5.
So much fun at the World Juniors. Halvey and Mark Parrish on the call last night at Grand Casino Arena. We got the call here on the radio side. On the television side, NHL Network doing a great job. And the guy that's on the sidelines is John Morosi. Joins us now, I assume, in St. Paul. John, I'm Kevin Falness here. Thanks for joining us here in the Twin Cities.
Kevin, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for the invitation to be on the show. I love this tournament, and St. Paul and Minneapolis, both perfect hosts. So it's been a great way to spend the holiday season.
I was going to say, you guys are covering Team USA much like we are on the radio side of things. How much fun are you having? I don't think they've played a perfect game as of yet, but here they are, 3-0 going into the final game of the round-robin matchups.
Well, Kevin, that's the fun of this, right? It's not perfect hockey, and that's why we love it. The last game they played against Slovakia, they're down 2-0 after a pretty poor first period by their standards, and they come back to win 6-5. That's why this tournament is so much fun. It never disappoints. There are wild games. There are unexpected outcomes, stars that you didn't expect that you were going to see that then become household names. The U.S. has a young defenseman, Chase Reed, who, by the way, is celebrating his birthday today, who is now 18 years old, but he was in the North American Hockey League at the beginning of last year, and then he found his way to the OHL, and now he's a star for Team USA. It's not supposed to be perfect for it to be entertaining. I think to the general sports fan, Kevin, I would compare it to why we love March Madness so much. It's that unpredictability, and this is hockey's version of it, and it is truly one of my favorite sporting events every year.
Yeah, no doubt. And to have it in our backyard here in the state of hockey, we are extremely proud of the show they're putting on there, not only on the U of M campus, but they're in St. Paul at Grand Casino Arena. Through 3 games thus far, what has impressed you most about Team USA?
I think that the resiliency has really stood out, and you look at the ability, Kevin, for the Americans to find different ways to win despite some key personnel not being available. You think about from the beginning of camp, they've lost Trevor Connolly. He was supposed to be one of their top power play wings. They've lost now Cole Hudson with that very scary injury in their second game, and then Max Plant from Hermantown was injured there in game 3. So it's been the ability to withstand some adversity. They've now had in 3 games, they've had Caleb Heil start twice, Nick Kemp start once. There were some questions about how the goaltending would go, and I think that it's been at least solid. I mean, yes, there were plenty of goals given up in the last game, but I think that had a lot more to do with some defensive lapses than it did any sort of shortcomings on Caleb's side. So I think it's been that. It's been so much fun to watch. Will Zellers, of course, a local guy here from the Twin Cities, and to see what he's done, of course, 3 game-winning goals. He was not someone that we expected to be a key player necessarily on this team. In fact, he was the last forward invited to camp, where he was back in Grand Forks, not really expecting an invitation necessarily after the fact, and then he got the call, and he's come in, and all of a sudden he's become the U.S.'s most reliable goal scorer. So that's what I love about this tournament. You don't know who the stars are going to be. You have to let the stars in the games tell you what the stories are, and I think it's all leading up to a phenomenal New Year's Eve. It's always, as part of this tradition, Kevin, with the tournament, as you know well, New Year's Eve is always the culmination of the preliminary round. Almost always the U.S. and Canada are playing massive games, sometimes against each other when they're in the same group, but tonight, of course, or tomorrow rather, it'll be the U.S. and Sweden and then Canada with Finland. So this is exactly in a lot of ways how we expected sort of the macro results to play out. But how we've gotten here and the stories and the people that have emerged. Adam Kleber from UMD has been fantastic. He's been having to play on his offside following the injury to Cole Hudson. So I think some really, really important names that have represented the U.S. very, very well.
Give me a preview of tomorrow night then, the culmination of the round-robin tournament portion of this tournament. It has the Americans going up against Sweden. Both teams 3-0. Both teams far from perfect thus far, but again, like you said, that's the fun of this tournament. What should we expect in the final game?
Well, a few things. First of all, I'll say this. If you are in the Twin Cities and if you love hockey and you have been waiting for the moment to really dive into this tournament, tomorrow is the time, okay? Yep. 5 o'clock local time at Grand Casino, the U.S. and Sweden, one of the great rivalries, especially in this tournament. The U.S. actually, they won gold in Sweden against Sweden in a raucous atmosphere in Gothenburg 2 years ago. And the Swedes, obviously, it's a different group of players, but they remember this, and they want to get their revenge, and tomorrow night is part of their opportunity to do so. Some very highly regarded prospects on the Swedish side. Anton Frundell, a top prospect with the Chicago Blackhawks. Jack Berglund, their captain, I've been very impressed by him. There's been some buzz around Ivar Stenberg. He might be the number 1 overall pick in the draft this year. Alphonse Frey, who has been really good for them on the defensive side of things for Team Sweden. So they've got plenty of talent. I think talent for talent, this is a pick-em game. It's probably going to come down to execution, goaltending, special teams. The U.S. finally got their power play rolling there in the third game with some clutch scoring. James Hagens, who is one of the key players for the U.S., top-rated prospect of the Boston Bruins. He has gotten going now. So all of the personalities all coming together. And, of course, Bob Botsko, a great coach for this team, the coach at the U as well. So pick your storylines, Kevin. They're all there, and I would highly encourage anybody that hasn't had a chance to go to a game yet. New Year's Eve with us at the rink is a great plan.
Tickets are available, worldjuniorsmn26.com. That's on the ice, off the ice. You guys are painting a wonderful picture as well. How'd you like your trip to Hermantown?
Oh, loved it. And thank you for asking about that. I loved it. So we landed, as you know, camp was in Duluth, and so we got there. We had a long day of interviews, which is really one of my favorite days of the whole year, where you get to sit down with the members of Team USA for about 6 hours. So we get to Duluth, and literally the first place I went was the Hermantown Ice Arena. I got my rental car and drove right there. There were high school games going on and youth hockey games. I got a chance to sit down with Christy Plant, who's such a wonderful person, Max's mom. Of course, Derek Plant, everybody in Minnesota hockey knows Derek and what he's been able to achieve coming from Cloquet and Christy from East Duluth. So just to understand the culture of hockey in Hermantown. And, I'm from Michigan, where to be honest, I wish we had a system of hockey in our state like you do here in Minnesota. It's special here. It's unlike anywhere else. And when you see a small town and a community like Hermantown, where really hockey is at the core of the social existence and the community and the relationships that you have. And I love driving up to the rink and seeing kids walking from elementary school with their hockey bags over their shoulders, just going right to the rink. And they'll go to the outdoor rink, and then they'll go to the indoor rink. That's perfect for me. And so just to experience that and be able to share the story. And, of course, as you know, Victor Plant is still on his way through. He's going to be at UMD next year. He's at the USA Hockey National Team Development Program right now in Michigan. So just a great family. Zam is over there playing for the U.S. Collegiate Selects there in the Spengler Cup. So just a phenomenal family, and it was our honor to be there and help tell their story.
Awesome stuff, John. Enjoy the ride. We'll see you at the rink tomorrow.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it, and anytime I can help, please let me know. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be here in Minnesota.
Awesome, dude. John Morosi, sideline reporter for NHL Network. They've got the call on TV. Halvey and myself will be on the call tomorrow after the Wild take on the San Jose Sharks. We started the show ill-prepared because if Molesky was here, he would have had an awesome montage. They would have saluted the Minnesota Wild through 40 games this season. So if you missed it, we went on the little website and we created an AI version of what we thought the montage should look like. We wanted it to have an ode to Common. It should be emotional. It should have Wild highlights. I don't know how this AI thing works, but they were able to put this thing together, and it was emotional. So let's relive it again as we put a wrap on the show.
Extremely happy to be back on the ice. The summer was too long. After a disappointing playoff round against Vegas, but we're back. It's a new year. Everything's fresh.
Final seconds ticking down. And the Minnesota Wild win the season opener here tonight in St. Louis. 5-0 the final as Philip Gustafsson gets his 12th career regular season shutout.
Yeah, we're extremely excited about this.
I just want to say thank you for all the organization, really, and I'm so happy to stay 9 more years here.
He's off into his backhand. He scores! Oh, what a move! Kirill Kaprizov! Boldy waiting. Scores! Some quick moves and a snapshot stick side by Boldy. Volstead stops him. The Wild win and end the Avalanche winning streak. Here is McCarr to a course of booze. Volstead out to challenge McCarr and took a shot. Volstead the save! Hughes through the swamp with a shot. He scores!
Here, you just don't get these opportunities all that often.
I just got here, but a big reason why, obviously, is because I thought, they're, tremendous group just playing them over the years. Hard to play against, really hard to play against.
This is your opportunity. Sing along in your car. 40 games of this Minnesota Wild season is done. 3rd place in the Central Division. Making our way towards the spring. Yeah, the snow's falling, but it's the state of hockey.
Real Kaprizov in on side, worked in the U center. Boldy scores! And Boldy wins it in overtime! Ripping one under the crossbar on a beautifully set up passing play, and the Wild stun the Jets, and they win it 4-3.
Starts the Wild road trip 1-0 on the trip. It continued last night in Vegas. The Wild shell the Vegas Golden Knights at T-Mobile Arena. Yes, the Wild 2-0 on this 7-game road trip. It continues tomorrow in San Jose. We had a blast. I can't believe we put that together on the fly. Technology is great. I don't want Brandon Molesky or Justin Guard to ever find out about this stuff because it makes their job too easy.
Technology is wink so easy.
Unbelievable. Wink. Good stuff. Brett, outstanding. I look forward to seeing you Saturday on Beyond the Pond, where we will try and stay out of the way of Pat Nicoletti.
I hope to get at least one breakaway in.
We'll do our best.
We'll see.
10 to noon on Saturday. That's Beyond the Pond. We've got an extended pregame tomorrow leading in to the Wild and Sharks. We'll start that thing off at 2 o'clock. Puck drops just after 3. And then, of course, Halvey on the call with the World Juniors. Up next, though, Justin Guard. Oh, buckle up there, Gopher fans. He's next on KFAN.
For an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.